All right. Give it just a second here, folks.
I think we're live. It says live on my side.
It says live broadcasting.
It looks like we're live. So, hello, everyone. Hello, world. And some of you it's morning, some of you it's night. And hope you guys had a good dinner, good breakfast. And we have some guests today. We have Jacqueline Yeung and also Jenifer Kwok, who's actually my wife. So hopefully I don't get in trouble tonight. So say the wrong thing, right? So feel free. Jacqueline, why don't you introduce yourself? Name, what you do, and career-wise, and then where you're located.
Okay. My name is Jacqueline. I actually born in Hong Kong, live in Taiwan, which is probably considered the most safest cities right now in the world.
Are you with the tourism board or what?
Sorry?
Are you with the tourism board or?
No, let me put it this way. We're probably the only country still can walk around, put it free right now. Nothing like lockdown or something. So yeah, I'll consider that as a most safest place to live right now. I work for an American company located in California for 12 years as the business director for Asia and Australia regions.
Awesome. How about you, Jenifer? Feel free to share.
Well, I was born in the U.S. and I have spent some time living overseas in India, and I grew up to marry, let's see, it's the guy that way right over there, Kevin Kwok. I'm that guy's wife, and I currently work for our company and doing business development and helping to manage projects and teams. So I do business development, internal and external. And yeah, he's a great person to work for, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you tonight.
Hang on. Did you just say work for? You didn't say work with, right? I think I was distracted for a while. You said work for. With, correct.
Aldric, you're gonna get in trouble with the wife, man.
Okay, I'm far away.
It kind of goes both ways. He says work with, but I know the truth. It's really work for. So I work to help him succeed and keep him happy.
Whoa.
Very supportive. That's great.
I am supportive, but yes, I absolutely love it. And I know that everything that I do does help us, and we're definitely a team.
Behind every strong man, there's always a woman.
That's right.
Describe the woman.
I think it's behind every strong man, there's a strong woman.
Yes, that's what I
mean. Behind every successful man.
Right.
I can see that Jacqueline is trying to figure out how to deal with us. We are a little too rowdy, noisy. Oh, by the way, we did just for our guests, we did declare before episode 1 that it's gonna be like a cafe talk, punch each other with words kind of conversation. So you look a little too calm and serene about that, but I guess it's fine. After a while, you get into the motion, and we'll see.
She'll get it. She'll be all right.
Now I'm trying to manage 2 screens at the same time. So I have my phone on the live show, and at the same time, I have my iPad in front of me.
Yep, and that's what I'm doing too. I'm trying to get everyone squared away here as people are hopping on, so we can make sure we can see everyone's questions and comments. So
when we get into Jeremy's background, because he's got some places to go. We want to make sure we get right into it.
Yep. So let's get started.
Yeah, I'm usually not comfortable starting first. I like people to go first so I can think of what else to say. But because I need to hop off halfway for my real job, get into another call. So I'll go first this time. And it's a huge topic. We have a lot of people. So I'll try to be as concise as possible. And we'll go from there. So today's topic, upbringing, huge topic. In the last few calls, I probably think of what I'm going to say, but this time it's quite different. Don't have anything in mind, so I'll just reach back into any suppressed memories and try and share something from there. Hopefully, there's some value.
We can start with newborn Jeremey. Where were you born?
So I'm born and raised Singapore. True blue Singaporean. I did have some overseas working experience. I worked 3 months in Phuket with Clubman, if you guys are familiar, as a GO, as an intern. Best 3 months of my life. That was in school. And somewhere in my career, I went to China for 9 years. Then I worked and lived there. And also there was a point where I set up my family. But in terms of today's upbringing, probably need to go back closer to, when I was a kid. So I'll just roughly break it out into like 2 broad pieces so that I don't bore everyone. So I'll start with the parents' side, right? So my parents are from different places, right? My dad's from Malaysia, my mom's from China, and they all moved to this happy island called Singapore to look for a better life. Well, actually, their parents did. So my parents aren't really that well educated. We're what we call, most people middle class, living in HDB, which is the flats built by the government. So came at a fairly cheap price. You get loans, so you had a roof above your head. And I'm the Wednesday child, so I have an elder sister and a younger brother. So the cliches with the Wednesday child is quite evident with me, right? Always trying to fight for attention, be the different one, that kind of a thing. But I think mainly what I wanted to talk about things I learned from my parents. So because my parents aren't really that well educated, so it came to me at very early part of my life that it's always been study is important. You need to get your studies in order. Well, this was also echoed by my grandmother, was the mother of my dad, because she usually is the one looking after the rest of the kids while my parents go and work. So that's the humble backgrounds that I have. So study is important, and it's always been a point by my dad to make me be aware that he will let me go as far as I go in terms of studies is concerned. And I don't have to worry about, money, getting an education in a university, that sort of thing. So that was like what I was brought up to believe and work hard for. And because my parents aren't that well educated, they got us a tuition teacher to come twice a week to make us learn. And so their instructions to the tuition teacher is that, if they misbehave, just whack them. So it's true. You don't do that. You don't do that now in schools anywhere, right? You probably get sued or something. But that was the case, and I just quote when I was having that same tuition teacher for most part of my primary school, which was like 6 years. We do things like spelling, and if I got anything wrong, I'll get hit 10 times for every word that I got wrong, and it's 10 times on the knuckles with a metal ruler. Okay, goodness. I will forever remember that. That's why my spelling is not too bad. And so that's the kind of physical punishment, right, so to speak. And my dad is really strict. On days if I get into mischief, I will also get punished. And remembering, from when I was really nasty and really naughty, I remember there was a couple of times where I was just being, whacked senseless, and I bundled up into a fetal position, and I just was left crying there the entire night. And my grandma had strict instructions not to feed me. Of course, she did that, in the wee hours of the morning to make sure that I was okay. So it was that kind of experience, right? I wouldn't call it child abuse. Okay, don't report my dad. No, that's not child abuse. So why am I saying that?
Well, I have a question. Do they have in Singapore where they can report child abuse?
I think it's more common now. But back when I was younger, and I'm not that young. I mean, sorry, I'm quite old, like 40. back then, it wasn't that kind of it wasn't that. Yeah, it was probably okay, very accepted, right? But things have changed now. So why is that important? Because other than learning that study is important, I've learned from a very young age to respect elders, to respect power, and authority. And I don't know, maybe that's lacking a little bit now in the younger generation. I don't know enough young people to comment, but I'm quite sure that we would agree that it's probably more different now. So that's the upbringing part. So that would be the two things that I sort of wanted to talk about. And then there's the education piece. So knowing that you have to study hard, to get out of this, middle class, to achieve greater heights in life, etc. So I will go ahead and say that I'm a failed product of the Singapore education system, in the sense that, we go through primary school for 6 years, 4 years of secondary school, and then you get to choose to go either to polytechnic, like say for 3 years, and you come out to work, or you choose to go for what we call junior college, which is, the A-level system for 2 years, and that's like, and straight away after that, you can get into the university. So the junior college or JC path is like the easiest or fastest way to university, and you come out, being a university grad. So that was everything everyone was achieving for. So I did okay enough to get into a junior college. At that time, it was third best in the country, and I thought, I'm set, ready to go. Right, I will get into university, come out, graduate as a U grad, make my parents proud. But that didn't happen because I learned that despite studying hard and getting into the third best junior college in the country that time, there are a lot more smarter people than me. So no matter how hard I worked, I'm just not going to be as smart as them. So I sort of got discouraged along the way, and I turned my attention to join, the Students' Council in junior college. I sort of didn't pay attention to school, and I did really badly. I couldn't get into any university. I considered studying overseas, but that couldn't happen because it would be a huge financial burden to my family. I'm not going to do that to my dad. So after my A-levels, I came out and I went to the military service for 2.5 years. Every man has to do that. And after coming out from there, I used my O-level grades, which is my secondary school grades, to apply to go to polytechnic. So 3 years there. So imagine this. So I'm like a 20-year-old by then, and everyone around me was like 16 years old, 4 years younger. And, they like to skip school and all that. And I will be like, been there, done that. I'm just going to study hard. And by the way, that's where I met my wife anyway. So so I really worked hard. I guess the polytechnic route was better for me because it was more problem-based solving. And I came out quite good in class and started to work and did my part-time university eventually. And yeah, that's kind of like my story in a nutshell. I don't want to take too much time.
So just for clarification, I know that
Yes,
Jeremy
sir.
mentioned junior college, but
Yeah.
I think for our friends cross Pacific, that's your high school. Is that level just before your university?
Yeah.
We call them junior college.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 2 years of intensive book eating exercise, and then a regurgitation, and you live your life by a string of matrices which is marked upon 100 and whatever that makes sense to the parents, but it doesn't really make sense to us. But anyway, that's okay. So I know I hijacked Jeremy, but just a fast one.
No problem.
So we have to reach school by, I think the first class was 7:30. And then it was lectures, tutorials, all the way till 5, if I'm not wrong. Depending on the number of subjects that you take, it could be 3 or 4.
Correct.
So if you take 3, you will end at 5. If you take 4, it will end about 6 plus. Not forgetting extracurricular activity. Plus, you have to go out with girls, right? You want to socialize,
No.
right? So
It happened
then
to
when
me.
you're home, you don't have time to do your homework, and the next day will repeat itself, and you start to see Singaporeans doing their homework in the bus. Like, oh shit, I've not done. So that's the most miserable 2 years of every Singaporean's life. I guess that's
Yes, it was very miserable for me. And I did my homework in class. Like yesterday's homework, I would do in class today because I will borrow my friend's notes and copy everything. So yeah, wasn't a good academic guy. So that's my story. Yeah.
Jeremey, I have a question for you. So,
Sure.
what did your parents want you to go to school for?
Oh,
like
really?
University-wise?
Yeah, that's a good question. Really, to not be like them because they were not educated. So of course they want us to have a better life than them. And I've helped them, at their work because at some point my parents were manning a food stall and in an industrial area, and life was hard. So during my school holidays, I would help them, so they wake up at like 3-4 a.m. to start cooking and to reach the food stall at about 6 a.m. because it was like the breakfast crowd. We need to capture them because it was in an industrial area. They only eat breakfast and lunch, and we'll be there like the whole day till about 3 or 4 p.m. and we'll pack up and get back home, and the cycle starts again the next day. So
what did they? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, what did they want you to study? Like, did they want you to become a doctor or an engineer or something in particular, or did they let you choose? Just get an education.
Pretty much left alone to decide by myself, and most of the time, throughout my education years, I was left alone to manage myself. Other than the strict tuition teacher, which I don't want to get into trouble with. Pretty much, I could decide for myself, and they've always been supportive. But as Asians, we find it hard to have that communication with our parents. We see and respect them as authoritative figures. So sometimes it's hard when you face trouble. And I do remember a very dark time when I was in secondary 2. So that was like when I was 15. Everything was like crashing, and I sort of got into, I guess, mild depression. I didn't speak to anyone for a week, not even my parents. But I always remember what they did for me back then. They were always supportive. They always showed me care and concern. Though they didn't talk much to me, they probably didn't understand what I was going through. But eventually I snapped out of it, and I'll forever be appreciative of them for that love and support.
If you don't mind me asking, I just have one more question for you, and you'll probably think I'm really funny.
But no, you're not. Because you're married to an Asian. We understand.
Oh, so yes, I'm yes. So, and having been married to an Asian and being around an Asian grandmother, also being around grandmothers in Asia that aren't necessarily even Chinese, but how was your relationship with your grandmother? Because even though I love your whole story, but what really stuck out to me is grandma has to make sure that you're fed, even if it's in the middle of the night. I think that's a really interesting dynamic about the Asian culture, and so share with us. I want to know.
That's interesting because I want to take this opportunity to point out. So my dad is one of 10 siblings, which means my grandma had like 10 kids. So he's third in place. So which means to say my grandma has a lot of grandchildren. And my grandma stayed with my dad, though he was the third in the family. So before him was 2 elder brothers, because I guess my dad, from a very young age, took upon himself to look after all the siblings. And I think my dad was really, I don't know, maybe he was popular, maybe he was really very good at taking care of everyone. So my grandma actually chose to stay with him amongst all the other kids that she could stay with. And it was a very well-known fact within the family that I am the favorite grandchild of all the grandchildren. It's a well-known fact. Yeah, I don't know why, for some reason. And and the dynamics has always been, she's always there to take care of me, and she always, tell me stories about how life is tough. You need to study hard. It's the same message. But really, from a different perspective. So at a young age, though I was left to my own devices most of the time, you always have that thing at the back of your head that, you need to be responsible. You need to grow up and look for a good job, be socially a good citizen, take care of your children. Yeah, I guess, this is like the filial piety thing. And that message is echoed to my grandma, so it's like from a third party perspective, because if it was drilled down by my parents, it would seem like it's very self-serving. But if you hear it from my grandma, then it's a different story. And I cried really hard when she passed. I always remember her for her impact on me. Yeah. So thanks for asking that.
She's the bottom. she's the bottoms up perspective. She's the one that told you that, instilled that in you, but gave you food at the same time so that you could really feel warm and listen to what she's trying to teach you, be able to accept that. So I think that's really great.
Most part of our childhood, I would come back home after primary school, like from 1-2 p.m. And then I'll reach home and she's the only one there. So it's just me and her. So she would have already cooked up some porridge, some things for me to eat. And I'll spend the last part of the afternoon with her till like 3 or 4. Back then, my parents were still working differently. And so I will have a good bulk of time with her alone. But she always leave me to do my studies. I could manage my own time myself, my own schedule, because I need to answer to my tuition teacher. So, learn to be responsible at quite a young age, so to speak.
Very good.
Yeah. I'll give some time to the rest because,
we would definitely love to hear.
Well, since Jenifer asked the most questions, so let's turn the floor to Jenifer because we talk a lot about the East. Let's talk a little about the West.
Yay!
I did not know I was signing myself up for that. Okay, I was just asking questions. No, so yes, I was born in a city, but at 1 month old, my parents moved me. My dad was a 3rd generation dairy farmer. And so we moved to live on the farm. And before the age of 10, somewhere in that time, we lost that farm. And he also owed a lot of money. So we became very, very poor. As a child, of course, you don't know. You're just enjoying your life, and we played outside a lot. So a lot up until 15, my life was, between dairy farms to very, very small homes to we managed 1,000-acre beef cattle ranch. My dad managed a ranch for a very wealthy man. And so we got to live there for a while and eat very well. And after that, my dad had a desire to do mission work. And so we started traveling when I was 13. We started traveling globally. We worked in an orphanage as a family over one summer in Europe. I started loving the Chinese culture and helping to nanny for someone who grew up in Taiwan. So they would speak Mandarin all the time. They would expose me to, yes, you'll see, you'll understand, okay? So they would expose me to the Asian culture, Asian food, very authentic things. So at 18, after being their nanny for over a year, I really wanted to go out and see parts of Asia. So I grabbed a few ladies and we took a trip to Taiwan for 2 weeks. And I studied a little bit of Mandarin, just conversational, got to kind of know the culture and go around and talk to different people there. So loved it, came back, and I used to tell my parents, I'm going to go do some work, some mission or something in Taiwan or in China. And they said, you're crazy. They didn't really understand why I had I really wanted to be around Chinese people, Chinese culture, Chinese food. But it really was in my heart, in my blood. I really wanted to go. And that never worked out for me to go. And when I was 30, yes, it took a long time, but finally I met Kevin at 30. He was one of the only Chinese in the small city that I lived in.
Your choices were limited.
Yes, my options were very limited. I thought I would never meet any man, I was ready to settle down and get married, and I was sure I wouldn't meet anybody there, but I actually met him in a in a huge church that had 11,000 people. And I met him completely by accident because I had already left and came back in, and he's standing with somebody, an acquaintance of mine. And we were, I mean, except for sleeping, we were never apart from that moment on. And I remember, you know, I never thought marry, you know, an Asian man. I just never thought of that. But when I met him, it was over. That
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kat.
What did you just say?
Bringing
I'm
the
sorry.
heat.
when I met him and he drove by with his hair, his black hair all up in the air, and his
The hair is gone now.
and he had
I hear you,
some.
bud.
He keep his black car very clean, and it was shiny. And he drove past me that same night I met him, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's over." I like that. And so when we started, right after we met, I got in a very bad car accident. I definitely should have died, no doubt about it. And he showed up on the scene right when they pulled me out of the car, and we had only known each other 2 weeks. And he said, "Oh, usually I'll date for 5 years, but I already know you're it. I
Cool,
you know, I
cool.
want to marry."
Wow.
So I didn't expect to share this, but basically my dad said, "Oh, are you going to marry this Chinese guy?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." That's how he asked me. He goes, "So, are you going to marry this Chinese guy?" I said, "Yeah, I think I am." And then that, you know, he said, "Well, you always had a desire to go to China or be with Chinese people. So it looks like this is a good fit for you."
It's
So,
it's the closest you're ever gonna get to Taiwan. Marrying,
know.
cousin.
I know. So he's my mission now. I have to take care of him and help him succeed. Yeah, we've had a great 10 years. So
More to come.
I guess more to come. So basically, I think I would sum up my whole journey as, you know, I think just starting out as a country girl, but I had so many allergies and so many problems that I hated the country. I am definitely a city person at heart. Like, the bigger the city, the more happy I am. And I love being with this guy.
Even though you got pushed to the basement and it doesn't really matter, I guess that's what you're trying to say, right?
I'm used to it, Aldric.
All right.
Awesome story. Sorry, I have to drop off, and I'll just catch the rest of all your great stories through to the recording. So I'll see you guys next week. I'm sure I enjoy the rest of this video at a later time. So take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Were you when you met Kevin? When you mentioned that you're more the people that you meet, the place that you were, there were very few Asians around. Were you at the East Coast, West Coast, or the Midwest, so to speak? Because
Midwest.
you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
The Midwest. Okay.
The Midwest. So actually, that's a great question. There was actually a university there, and it's also has a campus in China. So there were a lot of students coming back and forth, but they were younger, and I met you, I think, before that campus took place, before the Chinese. There was a lot of Asian foreign exchange students, especially coming in from China. But that was after I met him. So when I say he was one of the only ones, he literally was one of the only guys that were Chinese that were my age.
Especially someone from Hong Kong. I was probably the only one her age in the entire city.
Yes.
I love how the funnel is coming down to the one.
But he actually happened not only to be the only one, but the exact right one.
Yeah.
That
You guys seem like you have a
there you
great
go.
relationship.
I'm
I
not
love to
saying
see it.
anything to that, but
Hashtag bottoms up perspective, my friends.
love. Give it to you.
Yes.
So I guess who wants to go next?
Why don't we get
I think
Jacqueline
we-
on? Because she's
yeah,
new to the show too. Let's get Jacqueline in.
Let's do
All
Jack.
right.
I suspect
Okay.
she grew up going around different cities. I've been following her posts. It's like, it'd be very interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think I would say that I have a more people usually say that when I grow up, it's more a fascinating life. First of all, I really have to say to my mom that it's really tough for her because me and my brother is only a year away. So when I was a kid, my brother is like someone that I'm competing with every single day.
Elder, younger, or
Oh, he's 1 year older than me.
okay,
So that's
then
how
that
I
makes
broke
sense,
my
yeah.
head. How I almost killed myself like a couple times in my life. And my brother and me, it's a complete different story. He is very quiet. My mom could ask him 10 questions and he even won't answer one. And me, as a person, clack, all the time, my mom has to really like saying to me, can you just be quiet for 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. Just shut up. So it's hard because, and we're both born in September as Virgo, that we are perfectionist people. So my mom has to manage 2 of us when we were younger. So yeah, my mom is really having a tough job. So I grew up in a very poor family. The first time I learned how to cook rice, I was 5 years old.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So I finished kindergarten, home, cook for my brother and myself to eat because both my parents has to go to work. And then so by 11 I can actually cook dinner for 4.
It's impressive.
That's when my grandmother was sick and my mom has to take care of her. So it was summer holiday. So I began to learn how to cook for my father and my brother. And then because my brother was really good at swimming when he was in 3rd grade. So by the time in my 4th grade, I want to be faster than him, better than him. And that's how I learned swimming. And then start from grade 5, I was in the swimming team until 17. So I used to make a joke that I swam more than you walk at the same age. So, you know, as a swimmer training, we're talking about 10,000 kilometers a day, 1 hour gym. That's what I actually grew up with.
You were in a school
people
team?
would look at, I am a Hong Kong team.
Woo!
That's why
I sort of piece things together because I was currently I'm helping my mentor to do track and field. We do have like
Okay.
junior prodigies. So the kind of things that you go through sounds like so do you have any medals to share, those that you carry around with you, like your lucky charm stuff?
No, when my parents divorced, I think I lost all of them already.
Oh,
probably have like maybe 300-400 of them.
I see. At the
Yeah.
national level, international.
Yeah. Well, not international level because I was too young, and by that time, I think qualified to be participating in Olympic, you have to be 15 or over. But for a swimmer, it's harder because we actually really have to start to be trained when we were kids. So my first job, I was 13. I was teaching kids swimming, and the kids are 6, and I was 13.
Jeez.
By 16 years old, my brother was having a summer job at McDonald's, and I was making 6 times more than him per hour.
Wow. I was gonna say, there goes the competition.
Oh, we don't win by double. We win by times 6.
Yeah, because because the point is he has to work 9-10 hours a day, and I only have to like work 2-3 hours a day because the rest of the time I have to go to training. So I have more fun than my brother because of that. So I basically grew up in the competition mode most of the time since I was a kid. I love to win. I want to be the best in everything except for class.
I hear you on that.
So most of the time when I was in school, what I do is this. Because it's too tired. So after school you have to go to training. So when I got home, it's already 8:30. I haven't had dinner yet. So after dinner, you do not even have time for homework, right? So all the homework next day, whatever, I just copy and then just pass it to. I didn't even know what I actually was studying at all. Okay. So yes, schoolwork it's really, really, really bad. So by the time I graduated at what we call secondary 5, it's probably your 11th grade. No more education after all, and then start to work. And as one of the Chinese traditions, my father told me that girls doesn't need to study that much, just go to work and make money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just to
Chinese
clarify,
would know that.
At that point, it was still in Hong Kong.
Yes. I only moved
okay,
to Taiwan by 1998, so that was way later though. So yeah, and then because my parents got divorced when I was 17, 18, I'm pretty much lost direction in life. Don't know what I want to do. I felt like that because they both get married again. So I felt like, I have so many families, but I don't feel like that I belong to either one of them.
That's
so
hard.
get into a point is I'm trying to find where to go or what to do. So from then, I start to change job by job every 3 months. Oh, it's not right. I would say that I work in hair salons the most, about 3 years. Totally left what I actually was good at as a swimming coach. Then after a certain time, there's another job that I worked really long, was in the American school in Hong Kong. I was a swimming coach / gymnastics coach. So that's how I start to learn how to coaching. With kids, it's the best time because it's all kids. And you learn a lot from kids as well when you are getting close with them, because teacher is close with kids, but coach are more even closer. Because you have to take care of them, a lot of things, not just studying or practicing. You have to take care of them, how they felt or they were upset today, especially teenagers. So yeah, that's pretty much like how me become me, because I love to win. I like to be the best one. So long story short, 12 years ago, because a friend of mine was used to be the distributor for our brand in China, got killed by her husband.
Oh no.
In Los Angeles. So I was basically trying to help her parents, because she was the only child, and they're Chinese and they don't even speak any English, and none of her parents' friends speak any English. So they basically asked me to help them to at least to get her ass back to China. So you know what my experience the first time in United States? Courthouse, corona office, police station.
Are you referring to the
studio.
West Coast? Like your first experience with the West Coast is the police station?
Los Angeles.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh man,
so
that's a little shocking for me.
Yeah, that's my experience. Cut it short to how I got my job is because after about because it's a murder, so it's like a long way to go until you really can get the ash. So about 6 months later, finally I got it done. Have helped the father to be in the States and sign off all the documents because I couldn't sign because I'm only a friend. So, and get her cash back. So that's because they used to be carrying our brand. So I have to basically talk to my boss, Mr. Tony Cuccio, for communication, because they still want to know whether this company are going to keep going with the business. So when at the time I finished the whole thing for the family, I told Tony, I said, Tony, look, I am pretty much jobless to help them. So I need to go back to find a job. So I won't be able to help them for communications. You have to probably find a way to communicate with them. So Tony looked at me like, have you ever think about to work for me? I looked at him, no. Nope. Nope. And the funny part is, life is about opportunities. I always said, you never prepare for anything, and this is the best lesson I would say that I've ever learned in my life. Is when he told me that I think you will be a very good sales representative. I went like, okay. I scratched my head. Sales? I don't know how to do sales. Seriously, that was exactly what I told him. I don't know anything about sales. So he said, but you're honest and you're smart, I think. That's what he said, I think. And if you continue to learn, then you will be amazing. And then the funny part is opportunities. The odd part about it is I do not have a basic salary. Every single time I made is all the sales commission.
Strong.
So
very strong.
At that point, you know what I did?
Today?
You know what I did? Yeah, even today. Even today. Maybe next year it will be different though. So what I actually was sitting in my mind, okay, China do this much. Okay, this country do that much. And then I was calculating how much I can make, at least. As without the sales-minded, and at that point, the only thing you think about is, can I survive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I can survive, why not try? Mm-hmm. That's the most important part. I would say is opportunities is never locking the door when you're ready, because you never. I mean, bottom line is, how many of you have been ready for being a parent? I was not. I swear. When I have my boy, I don't even know what to do. He's so soft and like, so what should I do? So, but none of us are ready for anything. If ever there's an opportunities in front of you, just figure out, as long as you can survive, as long as you work hard, things is going to be fine, just fine. Mm-hmm. So yes, 12 years later, I have like 4 years as the best sales of the company. I am basically still, I think, considered as Tony's #1 child, because I have a different, probably it's the Asian thing that I have a different perspective sometimes when I approach him. I learn a lot, and the first ever college experience was 2 years ago. I made myself to take a class in UCLA for a summer training. And the point is because they have a great program. And this important part is, for me, is I don't think I have time for college anyway. Mm-hmm. A short summer course fulfilled one thing that I've never had a life in college. Now I know how it looked like and how it felt. So I would study with a bunch of kids. They can actually be my kids. Like, they are like 20-something years younger than me, and it was fun. Yeah, so that's what I said. I always said that I have a lot of funny story. If some of you read some of my posts before, like
we can stitch it up.
Yeah.
Or rather,
right.
I can. The swimming part, I got it.
It's funny because when you look at all those stories, sometimes I remember someone asked me, DM me and asked me, how many times you tried to kill yourself in your life? So yeah, that's probably if you ask me what, I think it's because the competition style. I was so ambitious since I was a kid, and that yes, it took me to some wrong directions, lost, but eventually just keep it up and keep faith, then there you go. You still can be something, someone, and be happy with yourself. Because my job, one thing is very good is we're out there doing seminars and helping people they do not know how to run a salon or spa business. So that's how I love the job, because this is a job that we help a lot of women major, because majority in our business is women. So and a lot of us in the beauty industries are considered have probably a little, like, you do not need a college graduation certificates to work in beauty industry. So a lot of them, they have the passions, they have they're ambitious to pursue their own business. However, they might not have enough information how it works. So that's what we do. I love that.
Awesome.
That's a great story.
That's good. So you're
I have a lot of
lady.
killing myself story. Don't worry about it.
I really think it's interesting, like how I think you're a great example of how something that might have been looked at as negative when you were young, having that competitive nature against your brother, was actually turned around to be one of your great attributes now, because that's how you're able to be that top sales person, is because you have that competitive nature built in. That's how you got those 300 or 30 or 300 or whatever those trophies, is because you try to be the best at whatever that you are going after. And so I love that about you. I think that's a great story.
Well, at least that's what I experienced, and what I learned is, no matter how hard or how tough life is, one thing: believe in yourself. You can get through this.
That's good.
So that's maybe another thing that I always say, that finding the positivities in the negativities.
Absolutely, that's great.
You gave me a different perspective of yourself, because you know that I do follow your posts and things like that. So
I appreciate it. Yes.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. My point is, I have this mentor, which I routinely repeat his teachings, which is all of us, we have 2 chances to make a first impression. Okay, most of the things that works don't make sense. So, but anyway, I'm going to say that. The first impression that you can make is when you appear. That's the first one.
Okay.
The second one is when you open your mouth, and then you start, because we say things that puts ourselves in a negative state, right? So I think for the purposes of our audience here and things like that, now that we are talking, I think there's also 2 first impressions on social media. One is when we see your post throughout, right? Because your post is about positivity. You're like the positive thing. Like, even in my recent article, I said I follow you because just for one word, positivity. That's it. But as we speak now, I can see that the first impression is that there might be an assassin within your positivity outlook. So. You impress me. You impress me, really.
Yeah. And I've heard Aldric talk about that type of stuff in his posts about no matter what, just be yourself. And I've, Kevin over here, he preaches that a lot, because growing up, life, is not always easy, and but he never stops either. And so, that's kind of cool, that Aldric is following you, and then he's got his thoughts too, and it all kind of aligns, so.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, because when you share something, you really want to have someone that pick up something from your post. I think that's what I do.
No, absolutely.
That's good.
I love it. It's
all
something
about
I think
that value.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think a lot of us actually have that positivity thing in common. I don't know if I'm curious to see, as we continue to share upbringings, if that comes along like something that's similar in our upbringings brought that positivity to the forefront, because that's something we all talk about a lot, I think.
That's easy, Timothy.
True.
Let's do a poll now. Who grew up as an academic type? Raise your hand. See, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin, come on. You're not... oh, come on. Come on.
Making us all look
No
bad.
way. Then what are you doing as an entrepreneur? You should be like some corporate ladder C-suite or senior stuff, right?
You should tell them no. Kevin used to sit in the classroom and skip recess so he could get his homework done for the next day.
Oh no, that's not the academic type. That's the survival.
That's survival.
Yeah, survival. So that when I'm home, I can play video games. I get that. I'm a guy. But the thing is, okay. So just to tie up with this upbringing thing, I think when I was very much younger, I read books that always ended with happily ever after. But I'm not being cynical about things. It's just that today, at where we are respectively, if all we have gone through in life is I met this person, we live happily ever after, we gave birth to a prince, the prince met a princess, we live happily ever after, then we gave birth to a princess, the princess met a prince, and we live happily ever after.
Because
guys, we won't have a story.
Prince will catch coronavirus.
Yeah, yeah, that's reality. But the thing is,
It's inevitable.
If it's always
Absolutely.
the cycle of living happily ever after, I think we would not be able to do this program and meeting everyone because then what's there to share? There's nothing you have to share. I guess when we really talk about upbringing and things like that, exposure really matters. I'm not a parent yet. I'll declare. I have friends that are parents. I see how they cocoon their kids, and I was thinking, that's kind of weird. First and foremost, it's kind of weird because that's not the way I grew up. I grew up pretty much in the streets. I brought my street mentality into school. Very early on, I had an aunt that really I resonate with because I'm always thinking about, why is it that my mom doesn't give me any money? Where do I find the money? So my aunt would be the one to say, you don't have the money. Your classmates do, right? Then I was like, oh, wow, okay. So how do I get them to pay for my ice cream? That's all I thought about when I was younger. That's all I thought about. Because in Singapore, the weather is hot, So after school, I just want to get an ice cream, like 50 cents. I don't have that. So I was like, what can I do? Like, can I do their homework for them? Or can I sell something to them? So that was pretty much how it came into being. And I pretty much grew up in the streets, like working. I started my first job 7, 8 years old. I was selling sweets for the provision store uncle. I went up. I don't know where I have that courage. So I think, Jacqueline, you can resonate. I don't know how and where I got my courage, but I'm dead sick of not being able to eat my ice cream. I just went up to the provision store uncle and said, Uncle, I have your customers. They're in school. They're beside me. Why don't you give me this bag of sweets? I sell it for you, and for each sweet that I sell, can you give me 5 cents? Then he's like, I guess he must be bored stiff because there's no business. So he's like, oh yeah, sure, come take it. So I opened that bundle because if it's a bundle, it's about $5 a bundle. Not many kids can afford it, but if I were to open it and sell each pop for 20 cents, people can buy it. So I figured, okay, there's 20 there, 20 times 5 cents. I get, okay, I got this amount, and I can buy my ice cream. So I started peddling sweets beneath the table, under the table, like just like 20 cents.
Good.
That's the way.
Hope
that's
you
the
don't
way
get audited, Aldric.
Oh man, I did get caught.
So you got the business mindset implemented when you were 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
It's kind of the environment shapes us.
True.
I don't know how many of you actually gone through this, but when you have nothing, creativity, it's there. You have to be creative. Because if you start asking, like I did ask my dad before, like, Dad, I want that pair of shoes. His answer is the very typical Asian, in fact, it's a very typical Hong Konger type of response as well. He's like, we don't have the money. Then I was like, huh? What do you mean we don't have the money? Then what did you use to pay for our dinner just now? I was like, then he was like, no, we don't have enough money. I was like, okay. So then the thing is, then how do I get what I want? Because when you're young, all you care about is how do I get what I want. That was way before we got into the education system and we got educated out of it, right? Because the moment you stay in education for long, you get educated out of your creativity and your survival instincts, and it's all about asking permission, getting the right things done, getting the right score. So I guess...
Aldric, so if you were a kid today, you would be an influencer.
Yeah,
You're a potential Instagram Asian influencer.
I actually support that. I tell my friends because as kids they want to have fun. Social media is all about fun. I mean like if we don't talk about the monetization, the connections and things like that, if you can just do it like 5-10 minutes a day, by then they are at their teenage years or maturity, they will have built a great following. And come on, from a sales mentality, right? How are you going to get your transactions done when there's no people? I don't get that, right? So that's really, and one of my pet peeves, I graduated from business school. There's no classes in sales, none, zero.
Yeah.
I went to a seminar.
That's true.
I went to an evening seminar. I think many years after I graduated, and that speaker really, he threw like hammers on all of us. He got us to do a poll. They said, look guys, I'm telling you straight in your face, you guys are graduates, but you guys are absolute losers. I'm going to ask the first question. How many of you are from business school? So we raised up our hands. He said, okay, stay there, right? Now, how many of you have attended a class on sales? All hands went down. That's not even a second question. Second question, how many of you have attended a class that teaches you how to build a business? Zero. How many people have attended a class on managing a business? Zero. How many of you have attended a class on selling a business to raise funds? Zero. And then he screamed at all of us. Then what the hell do you guys pay 6 digits for a business education for 4 years? Come on, guys, you gotta wake up.
A piece of paper.
Yeah, then I was like,
this is after you graduate too. Jeez.
That's after I graduate as well. So it's like, but I guess some experiences, some skill sets, it can't really be taught in a way. So the environment and the way we interact with it during our growing up years matters a lot. I mean, I know I've overrun, but I'll just share one more. When I was in my O levels. There's 8 of us in the same class. We went into the Olympics class for physics. So my best friend and I were 1-2 in the module, in that module, and there's this guy. He's like maybe 3rd, 4th, based on academic results. Now you see, now that's when I start to not believe results. There's this guy. He's out of the world. He's out of the world. At 16. He can explain in 2 sentences what is general relativity in 2 sentences. He can explain why Mathematica Principia that was written by Isaac Newton does not explain why there is gravity. He can explain why some experiments conducted outdoors and indoors has systematic errors that creeps into very delicate computations. Exact sentence. 16. And he's not even the top or the second in that subject. I was looking at my best friend. We were like, does our effort mean anything? I mean, like we routinely come in as like maybe the 80 something or what. But that guy, even though he's still like he gets his A and whatsoever, but he got 70 something. It doesn't mean a shit. So we were the both of us. We had that relevation. So it's like if you think about the curve, the normal distribution, things like that, right? Some people, they are outliers, and when you meet them, no matter how good you are, stay humble, because you never know when you're going to meet that enlightened one. Like, oh my gosh, 16 years old, he can tell you what's experimental science. He can explain to you general relativity, and then we are like, huh, what's that? Yeah. Because we have to read papers on it. I was like, And he got it. So right at the peak of so-called my academic excellence, I was like, okay, I got it. I totally got it. I was like, it's just a score, man. It's just a score. Win the game, stay humble. I learned that. I literally learned that. And the guy got a scholarship to some science school. After that, then we are like, life.
I think that's a good thing, though, to come to like get a revelation of is, I know it seems bad, but it's kind of like I've learned for me, like you're saying, I want to be the best me. I want to be the best I can be, because there's no other me, but there's also no other Aldric. But there's always someone that's going to play harder, work harder, be smarter. But we don't have to compare to them, because that's who they are.
Right.
But it's interesting, because I remember not too long back when I realized that, because I think a lot of humans were always striving for purpose. And I know, like in the Asian culture, it's, well, and even sometimes in American culture, it's who gets the top scores, who's the highest in the class. Like all of these influencers, for example, they may be smart, they may not be smart, but it's them being who they are. And that's what stands out to people. And that's what people globally really care about. I mean, we do care about brains. We do care about being smart, but it comes down to who is the most original, who is the most raw and authentic, who is the most themselves, and confident about that. And so, I love your stories, though. Absolutely love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was really enlightening. I appreciated that, man.
It's I think it's also something that people who are deeply competitive when we are growing up, that attribute stays with us. I think Jacqueline can relate to that one as well. It's like when you're so into the competition, the podium ranking matters, but the last thing that I want, let's say in a national champs for a 10K race, and the last thing I want is, if I'm on the podium, I don't want to know that the competitors on the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, they are having a bad day, they are injured, and what's that? No. If it's on the national stage, I'm out to kill all of you, and please don't tell me you're injured, you're there, and what's that? Fair play in a competition means, literally, I'm out, we're no longer friends. I'm out to kill you. And that's how we put value to a competition. So there's one, I think in the US, it's actually quite prevalent that there's participation medals. And I was shocked when I saw that for the first time. I was like, what's that? And then he's like, thanks for participating. I'm like, thanks for participating. Okay. But it's just weird for me. But anyway.
I agree with you on that.
Well, I am in a different types of competitions, because when you jump into the pool, you're only on your own.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anyone. You really couldn't, because when you were swimming, especially if you are actually on the front, you don't see anyone anyway.
Yeah.
So once you jump into the pool, you're competing with yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly, only yourself, because you couldn't even see anyone that really like next to you or something until you probably make the turn. But still, then you don't see them again. So for me, and competing in swimming is something a little different there, because all we look at, it's a time. So you try to be better yourself, meaning you are swimming faster than last competition. So you're competing with the time and yourself. You're not really competing with anyone through the competitions. Yes, when you get on the get the medals, you get to climb on the stand, and then someone put a medal on you or something.
I get that. Yeah.
But honestly, that may not be the most exciting part. The exciting part is when we hit the wall and look at the time, like, yes, that's the exciting time.
That's the achievement.
Not really. So in swimming is especially because when you jump into the pool, you don't see anyone. Nobody, you really can see their face. You cannot really, hey, oh, he's running faster, let's run faster. You can't, because you don't see them. So it's a different types of learning, I believe, that when it comes to competition, because all we care is our own time. It's very self-centered, but that's how it works at some point.
I think
maybe it's different.
Yeah, since
So
we're
I
on this
just will
topic,
Yep.
I'll just insert one. I'll just insert one opinion, which it's on competition, and I know that all of you have invited your contacts to listen. So I just want to get my thoughts across. I think sometimes when we are in a competition, we get too into the moment of crushing the competition, right? But my message is very clear. Yes, when we are in a competition, I absolutely want to kill you because that's the way I respect you. But at the same time, we are friends. We are friends. If I'm playing badminton with you and you're having a heat stroke, we stop. I'll help you to the side. I find medical aid for you.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we are friends. So please, if you're having a competition and he's having a bad time, please don't think he's my competitor. I'm gonna leave it at no. We stop the game, put him out there, right? I think we need to have a balance between competitors and friends. Deep down, they are our friends.
Yep.
I thought I'm so glad because I thought Aldric was gonna say, I go and I help him get through this, and then we get back up and finish the game. I was like, oh, I never want to compete with Mr. Aldric.
No.
I just want to say I am glad we're just going live together and not a competition.
Yeah, right.
Because I think someone would be hurt.
Yeah, there's a lot of competitive spirit in this little group. I'll tell you that. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I'm actually saying this because I think all of us we do have a decent size following. So I think we in a way I don't think I'm an influencer. I don't think all of us aspire to be that kind of influencers as a nomenclature, as a label. But I think it's important that we do put out good messages to those who really follow us day to day or week to week. So that's really what I want to say with regards to competition. It's like we wear different hats every single day, right? So yeah, my point.
It's great stuff. Great stuff.
Well, Tim, are you ready?
Yeah.
I'll let you hear next.
It's so weird that you're not wearing a cap. Seriously. It's so weird.
You know, it's funny
That's
because
kind of my
Jacqueline,
request.
this is Jacqueline's request. She's like, you need to not wear a cap. I'm like, Jacqueline, that's my brand. Like, that's just what I do. So everybody's gonna find it weird. See? Thank you. I appreciate it, Aldric. See?
Yeah.
But it's all right. I need some new caps anyway.
He's wearing a Day 29 hat. It's literally right above his head.
Yeah, but no, I need
It's
some new ones
crowning you.
anyway. I think you guys have seen my whole lineup, so I need to get some new ones anyway. But,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. I mean, you know, my upbringing compared to everybody else, I feel like is pretty boring. You know, for me personally, I grew up 2 middle-class parents. You know, so we didn't struggle. We didn't have it where we could just get whatever we wanted either. We were kind of right in the middle of everything. Like all of you, I grew up with a very competitive background. I'll tell you all a funny story. My sister's on LinkedIn. If she's watching this, she's going to be laughing. But when I was a kid, my mother would never let me win when we were playing together. Ever. I had to beat her on my own merits. She would not let me win. She didn't care. So that's where I got my competitive spirit from, because I literally at 5-6 years old had to figure out how to beat my mother, who was, you know, she was 29 when she had me. So she always had 29 years on me. I had to figure out how to beat her at a game. And that's where I got my competitive spirit. So, you know, I think we all got our competitive spirit from somewhere. I think we all share that in common. But that's where I got a lot of my competitive spirit. You know, fast forward to, you know, where I got to today and kind of my upbringing. Similar to Jacqueline, I kind of was at a point in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I dropped out of college. I did 1 year and it just wasn't for me. And I tried it. And afterwards I was like, I don't know why I did this. It was just not for me. So I was 22 and, I saw an ad in the paper because I'm like, I need a job. Now this is really dating me because who looks at ads in the paper for jobs anymore? Right. But I saw an ad in the newspaper for a job. It said earn $70K or more selling cars. And I'm 22. I'm like, $70K. Shoot, that sounds good. Like, let me try that. So, you know, I went, did an interview, and the guy wanted to hire me on the spot. I don't know why. I don't know why, but he just wanted to hire me on the spot. And he was telling me how, you know, he was a general sales manager, and he, at his age, had made more than some doctors and lawyers in the car business, which, of course, now I'm really like, wow, I thought 70K was a lot. This guy's really making some money. So, so I got in, and, you know, right away, I actually was pretty good at it. My first real check, I made $2,000 in a week, and I was hooked. It was like, okay, well, that's that. That's pretty awesome. $2,000 a week. At the end of the year, that's a lot of money. So, so I was excited about that, and I kind of got stuck in it for about 15 years. And you know, I mean, it was great. I can't say that I had a bad run in the car business, but it was definitely it was interesting. I mean, you know, the one thing I'll tell you, Jacqueline spoke on this. It's survive or die, right? You either are going to make it or you're not.
Mhm.
And you know, when you're on a full commission basis, that's all you know. It's either you're gonna make it or you're not. So you know, that's where our competitive spirit all comes in handy. Because for me, that's where, you know, I mean, I wanted to be the best. I didn't care. I didn't even care what my check looked like at the end of the month. Because to me, if I was selling enough cars and I was number one.
No, I do care how much I get.
I do too now, of course. I can't support a house without it.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like, at the time, especially when I was, you know, younger, I just wanted to be number one. I wanted to be the best. The way I looked at it, if I'm selling the most cars, I'm going to have the biggest check. That's kind of the way it works, right? So, you know, that's what really drove me. I just wanted to be number one. I didn't care about anything else. So the check would follow. I just wanted to be first. That was it. So, so, you know, I think like our upbringings, that competitive nature, and it's funny how we all share a lot of similarities, but, you know, that's really what kind of brought me to where I was. And, you know, just touching on a lot of the stuff that we talk about, I mean, let's call it what it is. We're all content creators in some level or fashion. We all post almost daily, right? So with that being said, you know, like when I look at today and the opportunities we all have as content creators, you know, you look at today's world, it's completely different than when I was 22 and I got in that. I got into that business. I was there because I felt stuck, because I just didn't have opportunities. Now I just started my own company, you know, and you don't have that level of confidence if you don't feel like you can make it on your own. But our upbringing and our competitive nature gets us to this point. So, you know, the beautiful thing about LinkedIn, which I love, is, you know, we just all have infinite possibility and opportunities. You know what I mean? I mean, we all get to learn from one another. We all get to uplift each other. We all get to be positive around one another. And, you know, I really actually appreciate hearing all this, because it also makes me feel like, all right, you know, me dropping out of college, you know, I actually felt shamed about that for years. But you know, now I kind of feel like, all right, you know, it's okay. Like, it's just okay. Like, we're all successful at our own levels. We all came from different places. But, you know, realistically, we're successful on some level. And that's what I really appreciate about this whole thing. So I'm trying to cut it to short because I know we're over time, but that's kind of my story.
Cool.
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, I guess I can share mine.
Go on.
So we got some great stories. So
really short, Kevin. Really short.
Really short. Jenifer already told my story.
He met me. That's his only story.
That's at the end.
It was over after that.
And then
it was over.
And then she worked for me. So I was actually born in Hong Kong. So Jacqueline and I have something in common. Yeah. So I grew up in Hong Kong, immigrated to the U.S. Because it was
1987.
1987. It was 1987. Yeah. So
well, the early 80s is the most people move. I mean, out from Hong Kong because they were afraid of.
We were worried about 1997 when China mainland was going to take it over. So my parents, my aunts and uncle on my father's side, they all went to university in the U.S. Right? So they sold us this dream that America is land of the free, opportunity, and there's a lot of amazing things here, right? And you make the big bucks in America. So my parents decided, hey, my father was a taxi cab driver. So he drove taxi in Hong Kong. And when he was about to go to America, he knows he needed to learn how to cook because my aunt and uncle was going to hire them to work for their Chinese restaurant. So my mother's brother was a chef who cooked for celebrities in Hong Kong, like Andy Lau and all those people. Right?
Yeah, you got friends in high places.
Yeah, so they cook for all these celebrities. So my father decided to go training as a chef underneath him so that he would be ready to come to the U.S. and be a chef, in his mind, right? So we moved and immigrated to the U.S. and, nothing's a picture perfect story, right? We learned that, so we first landed in California and then stayed in California for a few months. And then slowly we moved to what we call the Midwest, right? Which was in a town called Springfield, Missouri. And what my father didn't understand was my aunt and uncle own your typical fast food, American food, Chinese food. Okay. So it's our own version of Chinese cuisine, right? It's not really, it's fried chicken with gravy sauce and fried egg roll, so it's not my dad's idea of being a chef, right? It's fast food, takeout, Chinese food. So he had all these chef skills, but he never have to use it because it's really like it's the Asian version of McDonald's.
It's a different thing.
Yeah. So he was very well prepared, came over here, and he had no idea, So really, in the Chinese restaurants in America, a lot of these family are mom and pop. They're just trying to put their kids to college, make enough of a living so they can, university was very important for an Asian home. And you're in a new country. You don't know the language. And in a town like Springfield, majority of the people are Caucasians. There wasn't really a lot of Asians. So every Chinese person, we know each other, right? So we went to a Chinese church so that our kids can interact with other Chinese people. But like my parents was not religious, but they go to church because there was Chinese food. So we go eat Chinese food. So we started going to church, right? So so it was a small community. So I grew up, majority of my friends were Caucasians. And so for a short time in my life, I thought I was white. So I had a lot of American friends. I played basketball, play sports with them, and then I didn't like. So it was kind of challenging because I got made fun of a lot when I was younger. People locked me in the bathroom. It was not an American dream, right? I got picked on a lot because I was shorter than everyone, smaller than everyone, and I looked different, And then my parents, they worked pretty much Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So let's roll back a little bit. When I was a kid, my dad was a taxi driver in Hong Kong, but taxi drivers actually made a good living in Hong Kong. It's not very bad income, because it's a lot more popular than in the U.S., and on top of that, my mom was just a stay-at-home mom. She's never worked, in Hong Kong when she was married to my dad. So she bought me Legos, spent a lot of time with me. We went to parks. We go eat dim sum in the morning. And when we moved to America, to just put things in perspective, right? The land of opportunity, all this good stuff, right? But the truth was, my parents work all the time. So I didn't actually have much time with my parents. So it was a huge change for a child that's around 7, younger. So I really, pretty much, I put myself to school with my sister. I have one older sister, and she's 7 years older than me. And so I was kind of like the little brother, and she was teenager, right? So we got our food. We went to school, put ourselves in the school bus. Typical immigrant family, right? In a new culture. And I had to learn English, even though in Hong Kong they taught you English, but I was so young. So I haven't really learned English. So I had to learn a new language, adapt. And fast forward, let's say high school, right? I told myself I'll never be in the restaurant business because I see how hard my parents work, right? And to just make a living. And I told myself I need to go to college, study really hard. And my parents, of course, typical Chinese family, they were very big on either becoming a doctor, a lawyer, or some kind of engineer, right? So I graduated high school. And just to let you know my personality. So at 6 years old, I always sold stuff. So at a very young age, kind of like Aldric, right?
No, you beat me by 1 year, but okay.
So I noticed Americans kids like baseball cards and basketball cards. So I didn't even care about sports or cards when I was 6, but I noticed all these American kids like it. So there was card shops near my apartment. So I would walk and buy these cards, and then I would open up the packs, right? And I learned how to use super glue at a very young age, and I would reseal the packs, and I would take out all the good cards. So it's not very ethical. and then I would resell those packs of cards to kids. So, and my parents are at work, so I have really no one to. And my sister didn't care. She was a teenager, right? So she had no idea what her brother's doing. So I became known as the elementary school kid that sold baseball cards and basketball cards, right? And made a living, doing it, And at one time, like I paid myself to go to Disney World. So I always had some kind of side hustle as a kid, selling stuff. And then so in high school, I started to, get ready for college. I knew that's something I needed to do or thought I need to do. So I went to college, and during that time, I got into, I play a lot of sports. So during that time, I was pretty athletic. So I got into natural bodybuilding. So I thought I'll be a bodybuilder, Bruce Lee and Asian, So I started competing. So because I know you guys all talk about competition. So I was also very competitive. And at that time, I was managing a gym. And then I kind of put myself, I took grants and different things, but I also kind of put myself through college as well because I started personal training clients. So I would train clients and then go to school. And so in college, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician because I thought I liked kids, right? So I started going to school, and I noticed, hey, I don't like college level chemistry and biology was not for me. So I ended up, it was near the .com era, and I was trying to figure out, hey, if I can't be a doctor, then maybe I'll be an engineer or something, So I decided, let's do computers. So that's how I ended up with a software engineering degree, because that was kind of like the other option that was still, my parents always gave me they always tell me I can do whatever I want, right? But then there's this underlining,
I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
You can marry whoever you want. But then there's this underlining, but she's got to be this. Or you can do whatever you want, and then hey, blah, 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 a doctor, or this lady's son, he's a lawyer, you know. So the pressure was definitely there, right? They just don't say anything. And that's very typical in the Asian culture. So I ended up being a software engineer, and then I started my career after I graduated. And what I learned just being an immigrant, I think there's beauty in both culture, right? In the Asian culture, I think I learned to be very hardworking because I saw my mother. They work just to survive in the new culture, right? But then I watch how my friends who were Americans who grew up in American homes, I noticed their parents didn't work very hard, but then they have these huge houses and very nice cars and all these things, right? And I was like, I started looking at, hey, what are positive things from my culture and what are positive things from their culture? And I started evaluating when I was in college and started taking it in. The concept of Asians a lot of times is you graduate from college and you go work a job and you go work 8 to 5, a career, and you become a very good, what I call employee. Don't verbally say too much. Just agree with your boss, but work very hard. You have to work very hard, okay? And you can climb that corporate ladder. You become the yes man, if the boss wants this, yes, let's go do it. Okay, everything's just yes man. And we as Asians, we learn not to have too much voice, not to have too much conflict, right? And then I noticed, man, Americans, they move up very fast. And sometimes they don't work very hard, And I was like, there's definitely a balance, And then I started seeing the reason my friends' parents had all this stuff. They were what you call entrepreneurs, So a lot of them own their own business. They own the insurance company. They're the executives. They're the CEOs, right? They make the calls. And then I started going, well, why can't I do that? And then I started, doing my typical job, salary job as a software engineer. And then, but in my head, I had this, since I was a kid, I had this huge desire to own my own business, right? And I started seeing it's not always just working hard, but working smarter. So how can we work smarter? And it's not always soul mentality, because you can work very hard and still not make income's not the most important, right? But you can work very hard but still not be very happy, So I started balancing the two, about how do you create happiness but then still work hard. And it's the whole old saying of, if you work doing something you love every day, then it's not really called work, because it's your passion, right? And I think that's something I learned from the American culture, is doing something that you enjoy, that I can wake up. I enjoy social media. I enjoy connecting people and building relationships, So to me, I'm waking up every day doing this, and then teaching people how to do this stuff. It's not hard work. It's not going to a Chinese restaurant, mopping a floor or whatever, or being a software engineer and just listen to my boss and whatever he says, I just say yes and build and do that. There's this limit, to how much I can make. And it's not always, I don't have the creativity to do what I want to do. So that really, I think it affected me just growing up. But then as an entrepreneur, my Asian roots still help a lot, because I started learning also being able to listen and being able to be the last one to speak and listen. And then the whole idea of Asians people are very loyal, because we are taught to be loyal, and we also respect our elders, right? So it really has helped me even throughout my career. I have a lot of different jobs, a lot of different positions. I've owned different businesses. Some failed miserably, and then some was successful. So I learned to start just mixing my culture and learning that, hey, there's a balance to everything. And as I gotten older, I started seeing beauty in both cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a time when I was a kid, I really envy just the American culture. And in my mind, I thought the American culture is the best culture, you know, and the Asians were doing it wrong. But as I was getting older, I started seeing, man, there's a lot of beauty in my own culture, and I want to connect to my people. And
The balance, right?
it's just having that global perspective, and I think that's why we're all here today, right? There's beauty in every culture, and our upbringing mix up who we are. I wouldn't be as hardworking, I think, if I didn't see my parents try to just survive as an immigrant in a foreign culture. But at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to dream and be innovative and be able to be creative if I didn't experience the U.S. mentality. So I think, you know, we have to accept there's beauty in every culture and be able to understand you can take, you know, from every culture and not be so hard-headed and like, hey, even right now, you know, with this whole, I know we don't want to talk about it. So it's just the whole pandemic that's happening right now, right? We're going through it on a global level.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to take away the whole idea this is an American thing, or this is because of Chinese people, or this is because Italy doesn't have the healthcare system. It doesn't matter, guys. It's the invisible enemy. We don't see it. We can't touch it. It doesn't care who you are. We can all get sick. It's how we look at it and not be reckless and hear from other people's differences. And during this time, there's a lot of things we can be grateful for. You know, everyone's attention's online. You're able to connect not just with your neighbors now. You're able to connect with people thousands of miles away. And if you have the ability to just open your mind and hear what other people are experiencing, you can learn so much, you know? And I think we're so into the whole idea, oh, this is my culture, you're different. They don't know what they're talking about. I don't want to listen. Or, hey, it's me. But today, we have to remember it's we. And we is not just our nation or just our community, but it's the global, it's the world. We're all humans, okay? Yep. We will all get sick the exact same way. And one day, we will all pass away, you know? And we have to have that perspective. No one's better. Even everyone that's on here right now, we all grew up different. We all have a different perspective. And I learn from every single person that's on here. Every time I get on, I learn something new. And it's amazing. And we're all unique. And I think too many of us, we don't see beauty in other people because we start looking at status or the little piece of paper we have because we went to school, or the little MBA, you know. But if you strip all that away, we were a baby that came out of a mother. And here we are, you know, and it's that simple. Yep. So that's all I got. So
no, listen, I really appreciate a lot of the things you said, Kevin. I mean, you know, definitely we're all in this together 100%, you know, take even the pandemic out of it. I mean, really before that, I mean, I was starting to really get into LinkedIn, and I was learning from you guys. I think I connected with all of you fairly early on in my kind of LinkedIn. Really, I ramped it up in January. And I really got to know you guys recently a little bit more. But before that, I think we'd been connected for quite a little while. So I was reading your posts behind the scenes and seeing good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Like, we're all in this together. We all can learn from one another, you know, and, you know, take your example, right? Which is a beautiful example, right? 2 different cultures, you mesh them. You said, you know what, let me go on my own and let me remove that cap. which is, that was a big reason for me going on my own too, right? If you're working for somebody, there's always going to be a cap on your earnings. No matter how you slice it, there is a cap. When you go on your own, you're going to remove that cap. And it's really, unlimited earnings. It's whatever you want to make is what you can make, and like
you have no one to blame, right?
Right.
Human nature, we love blaming someone. Oh, I have a bad boss. Oh, my project manager's not good. Or, the salespeople didn't sell it right, right?
Right.
But when you own your own business, it's your problem. Why didn't you fire them? Or why didn't you hire someone different?
Exactly.
You have to own it.
Exactly. You got to look in the mirror. Mirror. You're responsible for you. And I think we all share that, whether we're entrepreneurs or not. I think we all kind of share that same mentality. So no, I'm really appreciative to be on the Bottoms Up Perspective. I love this group, and I learn so much every time I'm on here. I hope the viewers are learning a lot too. But I really appreciate being on here with you guys.
And maybe I'll just add a little segue to the closing. I think the most how should I say? I think when it comes to upskilling, reskilling, there's a whole spectrum of high income skills that can be done. Things like, I think people who are very active on social media, they should start to have a realization that there are two high income skills there. One is digital marketing at zero cost. I've repeated this many times, like zero cost. The other one is, as you write more, your copy writing skills, whether it's marketing copy or sales copy, will just get better. Even if you're not selling something, you're selling yourself. It's you, right? Because if, like to my coaches, I say the same thing. I say, who do you think, do you think people are more interested in you or your business? If you keep talking about your business, you're not going to get the traction, because people are interested about people. They gossip about people. They don't gossip about the office, right? So that's one thing. And then one of the high income skills that to me, I think that's really important is the ability to pitch. So to all the audience that's listening to us today, I would really want you to reconsider the offer that Timothy has put forth, which is the Pitch Me. Is it still open, Timothy?
Always open. Always open.
Right. So do this exercise with Timothy. I think in the US, car dealers, they are like difficult people to pitch, man. Seriously. So if you can get his green light, I think you're onto something. By the way, no one is going to teach you how to pitch. We all have to learn it by ourselves. This is entrepreneurial skills cannot be taught. Sales can't be taught. Marketing can't be taught. Entrepreneurial skills can't be taught. We have to find our way. So if you think that you can go to school and learn something, you are not going to learn anything about it apart from theories. Okay, so to all our audience, please reach out to Timothy, pitch him.
This way, that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important.
There we go.
I think it's so important to understand too, when what Aldric just said, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think, and even sales, you do by learning how to fail. And you can't go to school for that. And everyone, what really bothers me and what I hate seeing on the internet is this, what I call the one size fit all system. Or the ultimate closing or whatever, right? And I've been in sales for a long time on the corporate level, car sales level, selling little baseball cards at 6 years old, cheating people when I was little. I've done it all, right? And it's not always good, But what I found is there's not one size fit all. You have to start seeing what works for you.
Right.
The way Aldric sells and the way Timothy works, Jenifer and Jacqueline, is all going to be different. But I think there's something that every salesperson have in common. It's that nature, that natural nature to want to connect and have the ability to listen and really hear. I think that's number one.
Yeah.
You don't learn hearing at school.
No.
Yep.
You learn how to listen to the lesson, but no one teaches you to really listen and hear, And that's something I think every good salesman has, is the ability to really hear. You really what the person that you're trying to sell is saying to you. And really it's connecting the dots, right? And then you play off of your own personality and who you are. Authenticity is the best way to go. And there's no system you can go pay $50 a month. You learn by failing. You get enough no's and persistence, you'll start learning how to sell. When you have to survive, you'll start selling.
Well,
You know?
I'll say this about selling, and Jacqueline can probably relate to this because obviously we've both been like in the sales field, as you call it, right?
Yep.
There is a right way and a wrong way. You know, you hit the nail on the head with the right way. The right way is, listen, you have to figure out if there's a need. If there's a need, then yes, you have the ability to sell something. If there is no need whatsoever, you're just talking, and it makes no sense. So, you know, no, seriously, like the pitches
100%.
and you know, like the pitches, the reason I even offered that is because, you know, we've all gotten that first DM pitch where somebody just comes at you, hey, this is what I do, and I'm going to do this for you and that for you. And I'm like, I don't need that. There's nothing about what you're saying that is of any benefit or relevancy to me. So why are you even saying it in this moment? You know, so that's why I kind of offered that. Like, there is a right way and a wrong way to sell. You know, the right way is, first of all, you have to find out, is there a need? So there's questions you can ask to figure that out. But then the second thing is, okay, if there's not a need, walk away. And you can also, if you know somebody, like, okay, let's say I'm in sales, but Kevin's a digital marketer, right? So somebody may need digital marketing. Well, that's not my game, but I do know Kevin. So Kevin, maybe you can help this person out. And Kevin will take care of me on the business end, and I take care of Kevin. That's how it's a relationship, right? So, you know, there is a right way and a wrong way to sell. I mean, sometimes sales is something as simple as, it's a term on here, a connection, right? It's having somebody you can say, hey, I can't help you with that, but I know somebody who can. And, you know, Aldric, you talked about first impressions. That's what better impression is there than that, to say, hey, I'm not the guy for this. I know that. I'm cool with that. But I do know somebody who can help you. And then later on, if there is a business opportunity for me as a person, they're going to say, oh, that guy was nice. He pointed me in the right direction. Maybe he knows what the hell he's talking about. And that's, you know, that's really what kind of sales is all about. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't want to divulge too much details. I mean, eventually I'll probably share a little bit more about the pitches. It's been a very interesting exercise, I will tell you that.
So everyone, we're going to have a link at the bottom, and you're going to sign up into our coaching as a no, just joking.
Yeah, right. But
I think one thing I can definitely say, and I don't claim to have a lot of sales experience, even though I'm involved in that. But I see that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that you, Timothy, and Jacqueline both have a kind of an empathy, an empathetic nature, or a care
100%.
of people, a compassion toward people, and to be helpful. And I think, you know, for me as a consumer, just feeling that someone cares gives me a sense of automatic trust toward you. You know, it's sometimes sales actually isn't salesy. It's caring about that person and their needs and how I can help you and which way I can direct you that will benefit you. And people pick that up really fast, especially nowadays with things, social media and all of that going so much toward being raw and authentic and being original. You know, I can see that in both of you. And so, you know, personality, of course, plays a part, being original. But I wanted to mention that because it's definitely a characteristic that I see in both of you through this live. And I think I think that's super important. Like you said, it can't be taught out of books, but there are certain qualities that people possess that can make them more better in that, you know, in that field.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this just from experience, and you know, I don't want to say this and sound like a jerk, but sales really genuinely is not for everyone. It's really actually,
I agree.
So
Well, I may not be completely agree with you, because to me, what I've been taught by Tony, my boss, that American, sales and marketing, unless really robot will get paid and have a paycheck to buy something.
Yeah.
Everything is about human. It's all about people.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone and everyone is a sales in different way. It's only a matter of fact. It's like, I don't know how to sell. When I got the job of a sales representative, I don't even know where I am at and what I'm going to do. But all I know is everything that we sell, every daily life, it's all about human beings. It's all about other people. No matter you're selling some snack for a dog, the dog doesn't pick.
Right.
The owner picks.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still human beings. So it's all about people. So when it comes to sales and marketing, it's very simple. As much as you can understand people, you can connect with people, you always can sell something. Maybe the outgoing nature may not fit in everyone, but not every sales job needs an outgoing nature as well.
No, that's true. That's very true. I mean,
so that's what I've been taught in the past 12 years. Sales or marketing is all about people. Unless one day it could change if there's a robot going to get paid, which is, I believe that the argument is already around. Should robot get paid? And otherwise, right, otherwise, everyone that actually paying for a product or service is all people. That's my 2 cents.
No, listen, I agree with you. I agree with you on a fundamental level. When I say no, it's not for everyone, I just mean, listen, some people, just their personality doesn't lend well to sales. And I say that from, I'll circle back to Jenifer's point, which is, you know, if you don't have that empathetic nature and you just don't kind of understand people at a fundamental level, it's very hard to do sales. It really is. True. Because you are so far behind the 8 ball if you really just don't get people as a whole. If you can't relate to them, it's very hard to do sales. Can anybody do it? Yeah, at a fundamental level, of course. But when you talk about like personality wise and what people bring to the table, and you know, emotional intelligence is something that gets thrown around a lot now as a phrase. And if you're missing a little bit of that emotional intelligence piece, sales can be very, very difficult. If you don't know how to read people and talk to them and just actually have a full-on conversation, not like, hey, this is what I offer and you're gonna buy it.
I think it comes down to, I think we all sell at some point. I mean, I sold myself to Jenifer very well. I did very well.
Story,
that's for sure.
I mean, it was like I closed the deal. I didn't even try, you know. I just had hair, you know.
Be yourself. Be yourself.
You know? But I think it comes down to, I think we, as every level we're selling, right? To get the job, we had to sell ourselves. So the boss hires us. We had to just convince our parents to do something for us. That sells too, right? So everything is somewhat of a sales, but I understand where Timothy comes from. Now for a commission sales job type, like selling for a company, that isn't for everyone. You know, there is a challenge there, you know, and not everyone's going to make it. If I were to go, hey, here's a commission only pay job, there's going to be a lot of people that's not going to survive for more than 2 months.
Well, and I'll tell you,
you know, so,
No, I'll tell you this about that too. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, especially some kind of coach or something, you have to figure it out. You don't have a choice. Because if you don't figure out how to do sales, you're gonna flop. That's it. It's a wrap. So, you know, I think, can anybody do sales? Yes, but you're gonna, like I said, there's things you can do to help yourself, and there's things that if you don't realize about yourself, you're definitely gonna hurt yourself for sure.
I think it depends on what you're selling. So, for example, if it's ice cream and it's a hot day, I think anybody can sell ice cream just walking around holding a sign.
And you better be selling umbrellas because you don't know which day is going to be raining, right?
Okay, so you have umbrellas in the background for the off days. But I'm just saying, like, it depends on what. I think anybody can sell something that everybody wants that's low dollar. When you get up into high dollar items, then, then it's going to be more challenging. If you're in an industry, like you were talking about, Jacqueline, where let's say you're selling certain services that are only for salons and things like that, you're bringing them something that they probably already need. So you still have a challenge of selling that to them. But it fits more in like specifically into what might be good for them or what might be helpful to them. So you're at least in their same industry, like of what needs are there for them. So I don't know. That's totally just my thoughts, but I know like high schoolers, I could walk into a retail shop and they just say, what do you need? Or hand me certain clothes. And I'm there to buy. I'm there to look and I want to find something. So all they have to do is just put something in my hand that they know they hung up and it'll fit me and it might look great, and it doesn't take a lot of conversation or, technicality. But anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Well, I want to say something really quick. So I think we need to end it, because we've been here for 2 hours. And guess what? I am very impressed. And I just want to say kudos there's been at least 8-9 people that's been with us on this live stream the entire time. And I just want to say thank you. You guys listened to us for almost 2 hours, and I'm very impressed and grateful. And I just want to say thank you. That just amazes me. And a lot of them has been commenting and then saying a lot of positive things, and I thank you. And before we end, I think we all agree maybe the next topic needs to be sales.
I'm with that.
I want to hear Jackie's thoughts more on that too.
Yeah.
And
to wrap it up, I just have two perspectives on sales. Not so much on the tactics or whatsoever. Just one, if we roll it up to 10,000 feet high and we look down, right? The thing is, for all aspiring people that's getting into sales to be a professional, understand one thing. It's not about being pushy. It's not about being forceful and getting people to come to an agreement. Because if you are the kind that's chasing after money, you have to understand one thing. The money that you want is behind the people that you're serving. So focus on serving the people, you will get the money. My first message, 10,000 feet high, right? That's one. Second thing, we are all in this environment where we think that being our own boss or being an entrepreneur is cool. But hang on. If you want to have a shot for success, you need to be at least coming from a marketing or sales background. Because then, if you look at the financial statements of a P&L or whatsoever, if you don't have your top line, everything is cost. Mm-hmm. So if you're focusing on your ops, if you're focusing on getting things done, that's not the way. So entrepreneurs are always on the move and we have to think very quickly. So the best way to transit to become your own boss, I think, at least have a decent level of sales proficiency or marketing proficiency, you have a better chance. I'm not saying you'll succeed. I'm saying you have a better chance, right? The rest 100%. Of the things we can always learn along the way. That's my thoughts in closing, okay?
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Because sales is the heartbeat of everything, right? Even our government. Yeah. Sales is the heartbeat of everything.
That's
what makes the world go around.
Yeah, if you're in
closing thoughts by Aldric.
You every day.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. Thank you for everyone that
Thank you.
We're on this live stream.
Thank
and next week is sales.
Nice to hang out with you all. Bye, Jacqueline, Timothy, Aldric.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.